I'll be talking in next 12 minutes only about this molecule, the clinical utility in current era. The clinical development of saroglitazar from 2001 it started, the molecule was identified, and in 2008 we have done the phase 3 clinical study, and in 2013 it was approved and it was launched as a triglyceride lowering agent named as a lipaglyn. This saroglitazar is a glitazar, but it is different from other glitazar. And here I just want to tell that all before this, all glitazar were not approved, or neither of them could come even in the phase 3 clinical trial. Most of them were because of the toxicity. And why this name was here given saroglitazar, in Gujarati, saro means good. So, the previous all glitazar were bad, and that's the reason this name was given, because I was one of them in that advisory board when we were naming it, what name should be given to this glitazar, as this is saro. Saro means it is a good glitazar. It is different as far as other glitazar are concerned. There is a novel substitution at the western portion in chemical structure of saroglitazar, and that makes it different, and that makes it saro. It is not glitazone also. It is different than all other glitazone, and TZD ring is completely absent in saroglitazar. The previous glitazar were predominantly PPR gamma agonist, while saroglitazar is predominantly alpha agonist. Saroglitazar, the mechanism of action, it is dual PPR alpha and gamma. Both receptors are nuclear receptor that function as a transcription factor. Through the activation of these transcriptional factors, PPR, alpha, and gamma, it reduces triglyceride and it reduces insulin resistance both. The saroglitazar role in its atherogenic diabetic dyslipidemia management. The insulin resistance is a major complication for the reason for cardiovascular disease as well as for NASH or NAFLD. That is what we know. But at the same time, type 2 diabetes mellitus also having a insulin resistance as a pathological hallmark to start with. We know we don't want to discuss about the incidence of type 2 diabetes in our country. From IDF data, from InDive study, we know that we are second highest in the world as far as number of type 2 diabetic patients are concerned. And this is the paper which shows that in type 2 diabetic patients, we have a lot of patients with atherogenic diabetic dyslipidemia. Primarily, it is defined as a combination of high triglyceride, low HDL, and high LDL cholesterol also. But we have high number of patients with higher atherogenic diabetic dyslipidemia, and in combination, we have almost 70% of our patients, they may have one of these problems, either with high TG, low HDL, and high LDL cholesterol. There is a residual cardiovascular disease risk remain in patients who are treated with statin, and that's what we had discussed since morning, that even after treating with the patient with statin, still there is residual cardiovascular disease which remains a major problem, and TG is one of the important risk factors. After treating the patient with statin, still there is a residual risk for the cardiovascular disease. And this is one of the paper of Predimed study which talked about remnant cholesterol and triglyceride which are associated with incident cardiovascular disease. This is a trial population of more than 6,000 patients where the median follow-up was done for 4.8 years, and that what they had, the triglyceride is one of the important risk factor for incident cardiovascular disease after treatment of these patients with statin therapy. There is a critical importance of this high TG reduction, and this has been endorsed by multiple or international guidelines. In European Society of Cardiology in 2019, very clearly talked that in high risk or the patients who are TG levels between 135 to 499, despite statin treatment, these patients should be given N3-PUFAS, which is already by previous speaker had talked, that should be considered in combination with statin. In ACE 2020 had also talked about the patients who are with the triglyceride level between 135 to 499 with CVD or with diabetes with more than 2 risk factors. Statin at moderate or high intensity per CVD risk, still the triglyceride which remains more than 135, they should be given consider other triglyceride lowering therapy like fibrates or niacin. The effect of this dual PPR alpha gamma agonist on insulin sensitivity in patients of type 2 diabetes with hypertriglyceridemia. This is one of the paper where Anil Bhansali from PGI Chandigarh, he had published, had talked about the use of this agent in patients of type 2 diabetes with hypertriglyceridemia. Saroglitazar improves glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity index both, and these patients who are put on saroglitazar, in compared to that, they had shown that it improves insulin sensitivity. Along with that, there is an improvement in dysglycemia too. This is one more paper where saroglitazar integrated review analysis done by Dr. Upendra Kaul and other investigator who had talked about this particular molecule in using in diabetic dyslipidemia along with NAFLD, had shown a real world evidence, and where one of my paper is also been there. There is an integrated review analysis of these 18 clinical studies where 5,824 patients had talked about that saroglitazar effectively and safely reduces triglyceride by 45 to 62%, and the non-HDL reduction is around 21 to 36%, with small dense LDL reduction is 20.3%, A1C reduction of 0.7 to 1.6%, with SGPT reduction is around 28 to 68%. Saroglitazar, a newer indication for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I will just talk for 2-3 slides. We know that insulin resistance and NAFLD are interlinked, and many of our patients with insulin resistance with dyslipidemia, we find a lot of patients with NAFLD also. NAFLD is having a lot of comorbidities along with obesity and dyslipidemia. This condition is seen commonly, and this is in algorithm. It's been shown by endocrinologists that patients with pre-diabetes or patients with pre-diabetes or metabolic syndrome, you will see a lot of patients with NAFLD, and they should be evaluated for using these, for treating these patients for dyslipidemia too. The scores for identifying the patients with NAFLD, we have the definite fibrosis score and FibroScan, which can be also used. Why I'm talking about this? Because saroglitazar also had shown an efficacy in NASH. This is an Indian study in phase 2 where 32 patients biopsy proven NASH was given the saroglitazar, and duration was for 12 weeks. There was a similar study which was done in US also for NAFLD in phase 2 study, evidence 4 study, and these were the biopsy proven. So these were the patients of NAFLD, biopsy proved and given saroglitazar, and then see not only the improvement in histopathology, but also the biochemical markers of SGPT and SGOT2. The phase 3 study of the same saroglitazar efficacy in NASH, again biopsy-driven Indian study, which had talked also the phase 3 study, a multicentric double-blind randomized controlled trial in patients with NASH, and which had also shown improvement not only in the histopathology, but also in the biochemical markers too. This is one paper which is in scientific report with saroglitazar with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and diabetic dyslipidemia, a prospective and observational real-world study, which had talked that in 163 patients, 107 were included, 101 had completed of 24 weeks treatment, and this had shown that liver stiffness measurement and control attenuous parameter were compared at baseline and 24 weeks after treatment with saroglitazar, and it had shown the effect of saroglitazar on important parameters in patients with NAFLD, with diabetes, and you can see a significant improvement in not only in SGPT, SGOT, in triglyceride, but also in the liver parameters too. So in conclusion, the saroglitazar leads to a significant improvement in transaminases, LSM, CAP in NAFLD patients with diabetic dyslipidemia. In 2020 and 21 is a landmark year for saroglitazar, because in 2020 in type 2 diabetes also it has been approved by DCGI as an anti-diabetic agent other than that triglyceride lowering agent. As we know that in 2013 it was approved in type 2 diabetes patient with higher triglyceride by DCGI, but in 2020 it was also approved as an anti-diabetic agent. Again in December 2020 it has been approved by DCGI again for NAFLD approval, and before that in March 2020 also it was approved for NASH approval by DCGI. In January 2021, that is really a landmark for the saroglitazar, that this orphan drug designation for primary biliary cholangitis by US FDA also. To summarize my talk, Diabetic dyslipidemia is a growing epidemic disease across the world. Insulin resistance is the root cause for type 2 diabetes, which is highly prevalent in Asian population, especially in Indians. Insulin resistance can lead to type 2 diabetes, atherogenic diabetic dyslipidemia, and NAFLD. Saroglitazar is a first dual PPAR agonist which corrects insulin resistance through PPAR alpha agonism. Saroglitazar is approved for hypertriglyceridemia in type 2 diabetes who are uncontrolled with statin, and it is also been approved by DCGI for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. With this, I once again thanks organizer and scientific committee for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.